Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Tech Tip Tuesday. I am Daniel Howell and I wanted to post this video to answer a question that I've been getting recently, and it's sort of in response to the post that I did on my blog back a few weeks ago about how I'm now preaching from my iPad using Olive Tree Bible Reader. And one of the questions that comes up is, how do you get your notes formatted the way that you want them? I'm an outline user, as I'm sure many of you who preach are outline users as well. And one of the major problems with being on the bleeding edge of technology is that often you have to wait for the features that you really want. One of them being something as simple as rich text editing. It's simply not available with Olive Tree in any of their software, nor is it with Logos either in their notes, I don't think, because of the syncing features. Imagine all of the information you have to sync if you had rich text. Anyway, the problem that creates is that you cannot get your outlines to look right if you just simply import something from Word into Olive Tree. Now this has kind of changed my workflow a little bit, and I actually have open right now, as you can see, as long as you haven't been reading down through my notes a whole lot here lately. I have Evernote open on my desktop. And what I've been doing is using Evernote to actually write my sermons with. And you can also use any plain text editor. If you use Word, it's going to add a bunch of stuff to it that you simply don't need. And part of the reason I like using Evernote is that if you hit Tab, which will be an important key in just a moment, it will actually convert the tab into spaces. It keeps you from having to hit spacebar over and over and over again, so that you can set up your notes to look like the one that I have here. And this is what we ultimately want to get to, a multi-level outline, and have everything lined up. Now you see going down through here as well, some of our text, I write outlines, but sometimes I end it with paragraphs as points. But if you have something that wraps around, obviously it's not going to line up, as we'll see in just a moment. What I'm going to go ahead and do is create a new note here to use as an example. This is a test. Now what I have to do, I'll start out, here's point 1, and here's point 2. But if I'm going to do a subpoint, all I do is I hit Tab, and then I'll put the next point, which would be A, or the next designation right there, which would be A, and then here is my point. But let's say this happens. We've got B. What if you try to type a little more than what will fit on one line? Obviously, you are going to have these problems. Well, this seems like a problem, but it's easy to fix. You simply hit Enter, go to the beginning of that line where it is. If you see where my cursor is, hit Enter there once, and that creates a break, and then hit Tab, and now look at that, we are lined up. You can hit Tab again if you want to, but notice if I hit backspace in Evernote, it's going back by spacebar count. So anyway, you do that. One other quick tip to mention as well, I had to do a little experimenting to find this out. I use my iPad in portrait mode, and that's how I preach from it. So my notes will be a certain fixed width. To make sure that you get all of these things lined up the proper way, you'll have to figure this out for yourself, but I figured it out using Tahoma at 12-point font, and then using the font size that I'm using on my iPad for my notes. If I set the window to be just about this wide, and I guide it by where you see the numbered list, which is worthless to us if we're putting these notes in Olive Tree. But I make it about as wide, and see here I've got it a little bit too wide, but I make it about as wide as that is, and obviously you'll have to play around with it a little bit to get it just right for the font sizes that you use and everything. But once you get that set there, then you should be set. It's just a matter of going to the beginning, and I'll repeat this. If we were going onto this paragraph, see we've got this hanging off the side here. Go to the beginning of it, hit Enter once, and Tab. And then you can tab as many times as you need to there. That's it for this Tech Tip Tuesday. If you got any questions, shoot me an email, but hopefully this will help you out as you're preparing your sermons. Otherwise, join us next week as we look at another Tech Tip for preachers.